Hello everyone, my name is Kenton Kavestiu. I'm an ex-BCG consultant, an ex-Googler, and the founder of RocketBlocks, an online platform that helps students prepare for case interviews. In today's RocketBlocks mini lesson, we're going to talk about a fun topic, which is working at companies like McKinsey, BCG, and Bain as glamorous as it sometimes seems? And I don't even know that we can call this a mini lesson per se, but it's going to be more a mini insight and some perspective into that question. And the reason I wanted to do this is, one, it's a fun topic to discuss, but two, it's actually pretty important. You want to make sure that you are going into the interviews and the job for the right reason. And so talking about some of the stuff that seems super appealing from the outside and some of the pros and cons of that, I think it's actually really useful to have a good understanding of the job and the career path and some of the fun parts and not so fun parts of it. So what we'll do is I will talk about some of the parts of the job that I found super glamorous, and then we'll talk about some of the parts of the job that are, let's say, decidedly less glamorous. And then we'll finish by just kind of wrapping up and summing up. And before I jump in, I will say that these experiences are colored from my firsthand experience at BCG, as well as anecdotal experiences from the RocketBlocks panel of expert coaches as well, who work at McKinsey and Bain. And so we've got a variety of experiences that are coloring this summary. So let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, so this is the fun part of this question, which is what are the glamorous parts of this job? There are 4 things I'm going to call out. I'm sure there's a bunch of other things that you could cite, but I think this will cover 95% of the stuff that most consultants experience. The first is hotels. So it's no secret that you travel a good amount in this job, and one of the great awesome perks that certainly feels glamorous is you stay in a lot of really nice hotels. So my teams, when I was at BCG, had a really strong preference for Starwood hotels, so we were staying in everything from the W Hotel in Seattle to the St. Regis hotels, and that feels really glamorous. I mean, these were really nice hotels, and it's fun to stay in them. You kind of feel like you're pampering yourself. I even remember one time where all the Starwood hotels in Seattle were booked up, and for whatever reason, we ended up in the Four Seasons. Which is a super nice hotel. I remember it was the first time I'd ever seen a TV that was actually embedded into the mirror itself in the bathroom. So that certainly felt glamorous and new. The second bucket I would highlight here is flights. So again, you're traveling a lot, you're spending time in hotel, but some of the flights themselves actually do feel glamorous, especially if you enjoy travel. And especially once you start traveling like a little further, like if you're going, an hour or two, maybe you're flying economy or kind of economy plus type situation. But at least when I was at BCG, the rule was once you started flying over 3 hours on a given flight, you were able to fly business class. So I remember I was based out of San Francisco, but staffed on a case in New York. And you're flying cross country about 5-6 hours, depending on the way. And you'd be able to fly business class. And so those are, $2,000, $2,500 tickets that you're buying and sitting in first class. And that does sound, and was quite glamorous, to be awesome. So that was kind of exciting. The third thing that I would call out is the support that you have internally within these companies. The consulting staff at firms like McKinsey, BCG, Bain, whichever one you're thinking of, are supported by like an army of internal people that help all those functions run that consultants need. So there's people to help you with travel, there's people to help you with market research, there's people to help you design your slides. And that amount of support that you had as a consultant really did feel glamorous to me. Because for example, like if you had a travel issue, your schedule changes at the last minute, for example, you could call up a hotline and speak with someone and say, look, here's the situation. I need to change this flight, get a flight rebooked. This is going to change X and Y. You just explain the situation to someone. They're super helpful. They're friendly. And they'll take care of it all for you and just send you the details later. So you can focus entirely on, whatever the kind of biggest challenge at hand is for you. And then, like on the flip side, like the design team was incredible. Like you could be working on a set of slides till 10 p.m., send it to the design team, go to sleep, and when you wake up at 7 a.m., you've got that same set of slides there completely redone and reworked so they just look beautiful. nice graphics on them, everything's aligned perfectly, and they're ready for your meeting when you wake up. That's pretty fantastic. I don't know if it's quite glamorous, but I actually thought so. Then the last bucket I will call out is just kind of all the ad hoc perks that add up over time. So, there's training events that you'll go to occasionally, or like office offsites, and you'll go to a nice hotel and spend like a weekend learning and meeting coworkers and having some fun events as well. And that feels really glamorous. And then on top of that, there's also just like as you are working through a case, maybe there's a midpoint check-in with the client that goes well, or a final presentation. It's not uncommon that the partner will take the team out to dinner. You'll usually do nice dinners, and so that, you're going to great restaurants, you're having great food. That all can feel very glamorous and very exciting. Okay, so we talked about a lot of things that do make the job and the life of a management consultant glamorous. But there are flip sides. And quite honestly, a lot of the things that make the job so glamorous in some ways are actually the same things that add to a bit of the daily grind and the non-glamorous part of the job. So thinking about the list we just talked about, let's actually go through them, because I think you'll see the flip side of them as well. So the first is hotels. Well, no secret here, but if you are in a hotel, almost by definition, you are away from home. And over time, being away from home, friends and family, and being on the road, every week or every other week, for a lot of consultants, that tends to kind of wear down, and it becomes pretty non-glamorous pretty quickly, because you're away from just comforts of home and importantly, friends and family. The second thing related to that is flights, right? So if you're taking a flight, even if it's business class, it's the same thing. Like, that time starts adding up. You're spending a lot of time in the airport. You're spending a lot of time on flights itself. Occasionally, like the flight timing doesn't work out, so you're like doing things like leaving, on Sunday evening, so you can be at the client site early Monday morning. Those type of things just start to, frankly, add up. And while the flight itself and the experience might be nice, just over time, the priorities shift, and you start, placing more emphasis on time at home, time with friends, and with family. And that's just harder to do when you're constantly on the road. So the third one, support teams. I mean, let's be honest, this one I don't think actually has any flip downsides. Like, the support teams at these firms are incredible. The support from the design team, the research team, travel team, etc., is all great. So I don't actually think there's any downsides to that. The fourth bucket that we talked about, the ad hoc perks, again, very similar to flights and hotels. It's the same thing. Like, there are all these ad hoc perks, extra dinners out at great restaurants, weekend retreats, training retreats, office retreats, all this stuff. The challenge is just the same. It comes back to the fact that if you already have a job where you're on the road quite frequently, and you're traveling and you're away from home and friends and family, an additional weekend retreat, no matter how nice it is, or an office retreat, or another dinner out with your team, even if it's at a great Michelin-starred restaurant, it's going to just start to feel like time away from friends and family. And so as priorities change, those things that seem to add a lot of glamour can also be non-glamorous as well. Now, it's not true for 100% of consultants. I think some people really, really love that lifestyle and those type of events, and over time their priorities don't change, and that's totally fine, and that's great as well. But for a majority of consultants, I think if you sit them down and talk to them, the biggest things that kind of become non-glamorous overall is like the travel and the events associated with that, and just the fact that it not in and of itself isn't nice and glamorous, but that it really just starts to detract away from other things that they start prioritizing in their life, like home time and friends and family. Okay, so we've talked about the parts of the job that are obviously glamorous, nice hotels, nice flights, and then the flip side of those aspects as well, which lead to some of the non-glamorous aspects of the job. On the road a lot, away from home, friends and family. But let's put all that stuff aside and talk about, I think, really the two things that are at the heart of the matter. And the first is the work itself. If you are at somewhere like McKinsey or BCG or Bain, the work is going to be challenging. You're going to be doing it on tight timelines with demanding clients, with demanding partners, and the challenges themselves that you're trying to solve are going to be really tough. But if you work on a case like that in an environment like that for 12 weeks straight and get to a really great recommendation and get to present that to the senior management and the CEO at the end of the case, that will be incredibly rewarding and have high impact. And yeah, maybe that is glamorous. I'm not sure if it is or not, but operating that level is certainly cool. And it will be probably one of the most important parts of your experience overall. And the second thing is your teammates. Consulting is kind of a high touch job where you are collaborating really closely with a small group of people on a really tough problem. And the chance to interact with really smart, ambitious, creative, fun people that you are going to have as part of your teammates at these companies is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And the chance to learn from them and work alongside them and teach them something is going to be incredibly rewarding as well. Now, I don't know if it's glamorous or not, but I would say that it is going to have a much bigger impact on your overall happiness and how you think back on an experience like this than any of the flights or hotels or ad hoc perks that we talked about. At the end of the day, what's really going to matter is the work that you did and the teammates that you did it with. And everything else will probably fade away into the distance. So thank you again for watching this RocketBlocks mini insight as opposed to mini lesson. We have great videos on the interviewing process coming out weekly, so if you haven't subscribed already, please do so below. There's a big red button down there that you can click, and one that'll pop up here on screen momentarily as well. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.